Right then, good afternoon ladies and gentlemen and welcome back to Extinguished Motorsports, where you join us for the final round of this season. Finally, after many weeks of brilliant battles and racing in this realistic tier, we find ourselves here in the beautiful scenery of Imola for the final round of the season, where I believe 5 drivers are in contention of the World Championship this evening. And of course, a qualifying session coming your way first of all. 15.5 minutes to go of this, and then we have a 50% race followed by a short interview of the top 3 drivers. I am in a different location today, so I haven't got all the graphics that I usually do. Haven't got them set up, unfortunately. But I don't think you guys in Extinguished are going to notice much difference. So it shouldn't be too bad. But hopefully by next week, I should have all of the usual graphics that we use. We've got some official F1 overlays and things like that to make it look a bit more professional now. And of course, a Jack Rusty Comms intro as well, which we'll be using. But I haven't got that at hand today. I will bring that in next week, hopefully. But 14 minutes then of qualifying, not a single driver over the line at the moment, still waiting for these times to come in. And Fatality, the quickest driver so far, the first driver over the line, beaten by Andrew Pittsmith, 1 minute 16.0, 3.5 tenths of a second then, quicker than Fatality on his first banker lap around. A 116 flat, a very good starting point then here in Imola. And already just on the edge of a 1 minute 15, very nearly there for Andrew Pittsmith on his first lap around. Quick reminder, this is for the World Championship tonight then, and there's 5 drivers in contention. There's a few up at the front that are looking very, very likely. Passy being the championship leader on 282 points then. 7 points behind is Speed Freak. Then it's Don Pedrito 3 on 275 as well. Actually, both tied on points going into the final round. Then it's Pepe's in 4, 9 points behind the leader on 273. And Andrew Pittsmith just narrowly still in the fight on 258. I believe he's still in the fight. Pepe's over the line then. That's not a bad time for him. It is a 1:15.7. The first driver in the 1 minute 15s here in quali. And of course, he does line up 4th in the championship standings. Very level with Speed Freak and Don Pedrito. Bearing in mind, they are level on points on 275. Pepe's only 2 behind. So saying he's 4th in the championship, which sounds quite low out of the 5 that we've got in contention tonight, but it really isn't, because 2, 3 and 4th position are pretty much all on the exact same points, so they just have to outscore each other today, and that is what is going to win it for them. However, Passy, of course, has got the advantage, and he does join us tonight. I believe all drivers are here. Passy is here. Speed Freak is here as well. Don Pedrito, yes, he's here. Pepe's we've seen, and Andrew Pittsmith we've seen as well. So all 5 championship contenders joining this evening. And like I mentioned, Passy looking the favourite for it at the minute. But we're still very early stages and qualifying still with 12 remaining minutes. So a long way to go in this session. But the points looking very tight indeed, especially between position 2, 3 and 4. And we're going to keep an eye on them. It's going to be won in the Grand Prix, but we're going to find out at what stage that'll be. With 5 drivers, it could be at any given point. But qualifying plays a huge factor, and Pepe's so far the strongest out of the lot. Andrew Pittsmith, he lines up in P4. Pepe's in 1. Passy, championship leader, lines up P2, and that is a very nice starting point for him. Like I mentioned, he has 7 points advantage over the drivers behind him. So in a position like this, if he finished the race like this, he would definitely win the World Championship. But it might not be as simple as that coming into this race. Here in Imola, I think we have low 30s laps, 32, possibly 33. I could be wrong, but not very often I get to commentate here. It is always good to be back in Imola. Of course, a track in Formula 1 which they don't race at going into 2026 and has been discontinued, I believe, for this season. but we still have it on this game, and what a beautiful track it is. Passy then lines up P2, 1 minute 15.8. He's got a tenth of a second then to Pepe's in front, and with 11 minutes of qualifying, it is going to start to ramp up very soon. Owen, one of the drivers that is not going to be setting times today, he has been disqualified in the early stages. Not entirely sure how. Might be a qualifying ban, or he just got disqualified for some reason. But either way, he is out and not joining us this evening for a qualifying session, starting dead last in P13. Speed Freak is in front of him then, and the only driver in this session so far that hasn't set a time here in qualifying. The laps spread out very, very largely indeed. It is Pepe's with 1 minute 15.7, Stray Dog on a 1:18.7. So the grid spread about 3 seconds then in qualifying so far. The times aren't as close as you'd see, apart from the middle of the grid then, all within the 1 minute 16s, and actually pretty close there. 1 minute 16.0 for Billy Mewis, who starts the 1 minute 16 train, all the way down to P8 then with Fatality with a 1:16.4. That is a very, very close gap. 4/10 of a second then between 3 and 8. So close in the middle of the grid. And qualifying still with 10 minutes remaining for the drivers to get on the times that they need to do. Pepe's at the moment the quickest driver on the circuit this afternoon. It's a 1 minute 15.785, and currently looking the favourite for pole, but it's still early stages, and this was his banker lap around. That means his first lap that he has set, and he will definitely be giving it another go. He's out on an out lap right now, getting ready and preparing for yet again another go around. Is he going to get one after this as well? We'll find out. That purely depends on how good this lap is, because if it's good enough to leave it, and he knows he's got a good enough gap to take this qualifying win, then of course he won't waste the tyres and he'll stay in the pit lane, because he is happy to know that he'll be on pole position. But if the gap only increases by a few tenths of a second, he is not going to be safe at all, and it is going to be worth coming out again on the soft compound tyres, especially to maintain his championship position. Here we go then, the Alpine over the line. He's going to start a lap here in qualifying, everybody. 9 minutes remaining. This Alpine currently lines up quickest driver on the grid at the moment. About a tenth of a second separates him and Passy, who, like I mentioned before, he leads the championship, the favourite for the World Championship coming into this round this evening. The final round of Extinguished Motorsports, and Pepe's giving it everything through the first few sectors and into the Sector 1 line, and it's going to be 2 1/4 tenths of an improvement for the Alpine. Not too bad, but he has to keep trying to build on this if he can. That's a decent gap, but he needs to find a little bit more time if he can through the 2 remaining sectors to give him a bit of breathing room from Passy. Currently will take him 3 tenths up as Billy Mewis with a 1 minute 15.6. Now he goes on to provisional pole with a tenth of a second over Pepe's. Now Don Pedrito joins him on the front row of the grid. He goes into second now, 1:15.7, and the times are getting even quicker. Only 5 thousandths of a second between the 2 Alpine drivers, as Billy 1, Don Pedrito now 2, and Pepe's lines up 3. And the championship looking quite good. Don Pedrito lines up 3rd in the World Championship. Pepe's lines up 4 just behind him. They are 2 points separation between them. As Pepe's now takes pole over the line at 1:15.3, and the times get quicker lap by lap. 4/10 of a second found on that time around, and the Alpine now sticks it on provisional pole. Still 7 minutes to go, but he should be a little bit more at ease with that. Only 3/10 of a second over Billy Mewis. Actually really 2.5 if you really break it down, but at the minute that's not too bad. He should be quite happy with that. The quickest driver here so far. Still a bit of time to go, but that's going to make him feel a bit better. Like I mentioned, only a few points between him and Speed Freak and Don Pedrito, who tie on championship points, 275 apiece. And we've got Speed Freak lining up 9th on the grid at the moment. Don Pedrito lining up a lot higher in 3rd. So really taking this with a strong grasp, and it is working out for him so far in qualifying, but still the Grand Prix to go and the end of qualifying as well, which is going to determine the starting positions for the final race of the season. Pepe's at the moment to be the quickest driver, but with time to go, you cannot confirm that just yet. Only 3/10, not even 3/10 of a second is the gap. As he comes round now and will enter the pit lane. Will he come out again in the final few stages, or is he going to leave his qualifying session there? It's 2 drivers we haven't seen much of today then. I was going to say Static Lazy, who now goes up to the front row of the grid in the Ferrari, and he's been a really strong contender recently since he's joined this league. Now onto the front row of the grids on a lovely time. I believe his second lap around then here in Imola, and it is second place on lap 2 for him. Leeboy QAV, his teammate, lines up in P8, and he is on a lap around at the moment. 10% battery left to power out of the final corner and give him that extra speed up towards the line. What can the Ferrari do? Can he replicate what his teammate's just done? He cannot. He is a few places behind here. He does improve by 2.5 of a second then, but Leeboy QAV will line up 6th position, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of that qualifying lap. Static Lazy, sorry, did set a beautiful time, though, of P2, who he was not expecting. Well, many drivers in the pit lane then, only 5 remaining minutes of quali as the time ticks down very quickly indeed. And this is a very important race where the championship will be decided. And when we finish with this championship, we have a 1-week break, ladies and gentlemen. Then we get straight back into the action for a brand new season of Extinguished Motorsports. I saw a lot of talk about people not wanting the realistic cars. I don't know if they're going to keep the realistic cars or listen to people and go with the equal, or you know, we're just going to stick with what we've been doing. I'm not entirely sure. I believe we're sticking with realistic, but I did see a few people saying that the equal would be better. So we'll see what Stray Dog and the rest of the management decide to do. But this season has been purely realistic cars, which means, of course, the driver's pace determines which car they get put in. So Billy Mewis, as we know, a very fast driver. He's been put in the kick sound with the slowest car on the grid and actually being beaten then, as you can see, by Static Lazy. He's in a Ferrari, and if he does well today, he probably won't be in a Ferrari again. So it just shows if you are quick in a quick car, you will probably get nerfed all the way down into one of the worst. But Static Lazy, of course, this is the last race of the season. He's got to be happy to have a Ferrari. Same with Leeboy QAV. Very nice cars to have, and he should be coming out of the pit lane soon. Fatality then lines up currently P7, and he's on an outlap, and he's going to be going on a lap now. Andrew Pittsmith is on the lap then, up towards the up to the end of the first sector for the Racing Bull. It's a 1 minute 16.0 for AP at the moment, and he tries to go quicker. We'll find out if he does then through Sector 1. Nearly 1/10 of a second found in that first sector. So a strong Sector 1, but still 2 to go with 3 minutes remaining. Currently lines up 8th position, so quite out of it at the moment. And he is technically on for the World Championship, but that would require a lot of drivers to retire and not score any points. And the chances of that are very slim indeed. So it's looking like we are going to get Andrew Pittsmith a bit out of it tonight, but we'll find out. As he not too bad on a lap, he's 100th of a second down. And now we watch him come around the final corner. Here we go then for the Racing Bull, who is just slightly in the championship still with a little bit of hope. Andrew Pittsmith over the line. He improves by only 0.003 of a second, which is minuscule. And you would not notice that at all. Pretty much an identical lap to the one he did beforehand. Not really much of an improvement. Passy then lines up third, and he is on a lap around at the moment, up towards the end of Sector 1 in a moment, into the flying left-hander then where the car grips to the floor and now exits with great speed, and he's a 1/10 of a second down for Passy. He leads the championship going into this, and he really could do with the qualifying advantage. As Blocky joins in the chat. Hello, mate. Welcome back from the Saturday League of IFR. Good to see you, mate. Glad you're here. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be there this week because I am out on that day. There's a chance I'll be back in time to do it, but more likely than not, I will be unfortunately not there on Saturday. But I will be there when I can because IFR, quite a fun league, mate. Really, really is. But here comes Passy then. He was down in the first sector. I didn't get to see that middle sector, but now he's going to come around the final few corners then, is Passy, and he's going to set, most likely, his final qualifying time of the day. The World Championship leader into the pit lane, and that is it for qualifying then, everybody. Wow, well, that is it. The championship leader in the pit lane, as Ollie Southall supporting Billy Mewis. Yeah, Blocky, I did already tell the owners, mate, in advance, so it's not a thing that I've just sprung upon everybody. I did already tell them, so it was known about. But Don Pedrito then has improved by 3.5 of a second on that lap. He goes into P5 at the end of that. As Static Lazy at the end of qualifying, out of absolutely nowhere, he finds a 10th, and he's now on provisional pole with 50 seconds to go. The Ferrari currently sat at the top of the standings today in qualifying here in Imola has just set a beautiful time. Pepe's behind him, and the gap is exactly pretty much a 10th of a second. Percival retires from the session, then down in P10 will not be improving from there. Fatality is out of the session as well as Owen as well, who hasn't set a time today. Disqualified from the session at the start, down in P13, starting dead last in the Grand Prix. We're going to see what we can see now. Billy Mewis is 700th of a second down then in Sector 1 and actually losing time, unfortunately, currently. Hopefully he can find it as Pepe's over the line, and that is a brilliant time, isn't it? A 10th of a second now over Static Lazy, and the drivers are just getting quicker lap by lap over the line for the Alpine, who's now on provisional pole with 8 seconds remaining, ladies and gentlemen. And the championship's going to shape up very nicely. Pepe's, who lines up 4 in the World Championship standing, and he's only 2 points behind second and third place. He is currently on provisional pole and looking like he's going to take it at the moment. Static Lazy has just set a time, then second place at best for him now. Don Pedrito lines up third. Passy will line up 4. P5, Billy Mewis, who we know is quick, even in the slowest car of the Kick Sauber. Is it going to be a good lap for him? Then he is going to round it off, but it doesn't look quick at all as the fuel light is on. He's 5 seconds down, and Billy Mewis is done with his lap. Unfortunately, P5 at best. Leeboy QAV over the line does find 2/10 of a second, then improves over Fatality, and he takes P6 in the Grand Prix. Speed Freak is going to be 9th, and on the lap at the moment, it's second sector. Speed Freak's up by 2/10. This man, second place in the World Championship standings. 275 points, tied with Don Pedrito, who lines up in third. He needs to get a good improvement here then, ladies and gents, for a shot at that title. He needs to really be ahead of Don Pedrito, both on equal points. They just need to out-qualify each other in the qualifying and Grand Prix. Over the line for Speed Freak, and it just wasn't enough. In P9, no drastic improvements. 9th position to end off qualifying from him. But at the end of all of this then, ladies and gentlemen, Pepe's in the Alpine with a sneaky lap at the end takes pole position for the final round of this season. Fatality in the chat. First time touching a wheel in like 4 months. I don't know what I'm doing here. Fatality currently lining up down in P7. As here is your finishing results then, ladies and gentlemen. Pepe's in the Alpine. Pole position taken by him by a 10th of a second over Static Lazy in the Scuderia Ferrari this evening. Don Pedrito lines up third then, joined by Passy on the second row of the grid. Then it is Billy Mewis and Leeboy QAV lining up 5 and 6. Fatality and Andrew Pittsmith line up 7 and 8 then. And the 5th row of the grid is Speed Freak and Percival. Moving down, Davey 11, Stray Dog 12, and the back of the grid then is Owen, who disqualified from that session at the very start, and now starts from the back of the grid. The 2 Williams starting dead last, and we'll see what comeback they can make. But the Grand Prix then up in a moment. Well, the Grand Prix starting very soon, everybody. This is the final round of the season here in Extinguished Motorsports, and we've just seen a brilliant qualifying session. The standings in the championship are extremely tight, and going into this race, it is quite tricky to call who will really be taking it come race end. I don't think there's anyone here in the chat to help me work it out, so I'm going to have to try and do the working out on my own. Doesn't always go well. we'll try. Hopefully we don't announce the wrong world champion. That would be pretty bad. But yesterday was WRC's final, one of the best I've ever been in. We had some great battles. Started this stream with a live DJ set from AJ. You can find him on all social media. He was brilliant. And I've never seen that before in league racing ever, but it was very good. As I think the drivers come ready up very soon, and then we get into your 50% race, ladies and gents. Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. Straight into it this evening. 5 lights, and for the final time tonight here in Extinguished Motorsports, the drivers get away and it's lights out and away we go then. 32 laps ahead of us, and in the Alpine gets a brilliant start ahead of Static Lazy. He took pole position today, but already in the background, 2 people into the barrier, and it's Billy Mewis from really high up on the grid then. Now back at the grid with the Mercedes and the Haas car of Passy, the championship leader, who now spins around. He's at the back of the grid, everybody, and his chances of becoming champion tonight have all of a sudden came crashing down. He's back at the grid this evening in the Haas. Static Lazy now leads the Grand Prix. Pepes has lost a position down to 2. Leroy QAV then running in 3rd. A brilliant start from the Ferrari, who's made up great places. And for the first time, we might even get Leroy on the podium today in the Ferrari. The 2 Ferraris lining up 1 and 3, and a brilliant start from both of them this evening, who have had a honestly, absolutely sensational start. Leroy up 3, Percival up 6, Owen up 8 then, as Passy down 9 places, all the way down the bottom till P13. Down the bottom now, Fatality, getting ahead of Davey as well, as Davey tries to take it back up the inside line, not enough room for him. Wow. Brilliant start for the drivers then. Up the inside line there for the Williams, and a very lovely move. I think that was for straight on racing. Could be wrong, as I think it went up the inside line there. It could have been Owen, though, as behind that, Speed Freak and Perceivable. Now they go side by side, starting the second lap of 32, all the way down in towards the first corner here in Imola, ladies and gentlemen. Is the Haas car going to gap the Racing Bull into the left-hand side? He just about gets in front, and the Racing Bull does have to back off then for safety reasons there, and Speed Freak gets in front into P5. Owen then running really well up in P4, and might even get him on the podium at the moment. Really good start for the drivers. 9 places up from him. He started very far back. Remember, 9th on the the back of the grid in P13 with a disqualification in qualifying, and he's nearly in the podium places on lap 2. One of the best starts we have seen here in Extinguished Motorsports. Absolutely flying then for him, as he's currently 4th position. Right, let's have a look at the championship standings then, shall we? Where everybody is. By looking at it, Passy won't win the championship as of now, as the points 275 for Speed Freak and Dom Pedrito, Passy on 282. Him being P13 means he will not win the championship come race end. Pepes in 2nd place. He'll be taking the most points. He's on 273, only 2 behind Speed Freak and Dom Pedrito. Speed Freak in P5. If I am correct, Pepes, I believe, would be the world champion tonight if it stays like this. But the battle's still continuing. Is that Leroy QAV then? On Owen it is, and Owen goes into P3 now. From the back of the grid, everybody, 3 laps in, now on the podium places. He's had an absolutely sensational start. 10 places up now from the start of the lights, and up to P3 is a brilliant effort from the Williams, who is making a good job of this race. Looking like we're going to speak to him in the interview room later. It really, really is. Looking very consistent from him at the moment. As Billy Mewis making a move here. 3 abreast from the drivers here in Imola. Which driver's going to get out in front? Look at that. The tree getting in the way. This is going to end badly. Up the outside line for the Racing Bull, and the kick. Sauber has to back off. Billy Mewis is going to wait his turn now. He's all the way down to P9, is Billy. Oh, Stray Dog Racing has gone around now. He's at the back of the grid, and we've had so much carnage at the start. Stray Dog now loses his rears, and we find him now at the back of the grid in P13. Static Lazy then leads by 9/10 of a second over Pepe's in P2. And like I mentioned, I believe Pepe's will be the championship winner come race end. If I'm wrong, that's kind of embarrassing, but we'll find out. Hopefully I'm not wrong. I believe he will be the championship winner. I need to check how many points the drivers get here in Extinguished, because there is some leagues that don't use the normal F1 standard points system. I don't know if these guys do or not, so I need to check on that. There you go, overall points. There we go. It's points. Oh, that's WRC, my apologies. I found a point system from 2024. I genuinely don't know if that's true or not. So I will try my best to announce the champion, but it might be wrong. Static Lazy leads then. Pepe's 2, and in my opinion, I think, on his way to win his first World Championship. In second place at the moment, Owen then lines up third on the podium. Leeboy QAV has just dropped out of that bracket now, down to P4. Speed Freak in 5, and looking like he's gaining a bit on this Ferrari, possibly able to make a move very soon. Ollie Southall, 50 points for a win by the looks. Yeah, that's what I just thought, mate. So big points for the winner. And of course that goes all the way down to P20. But this battle still continues, and we are on board with Speed Freak 52 then. Right on the backside of Leeboy, whose rear is looking a bit iffy there on the exit, and now going on to this 5th lap of the Grand Prix with the drivers. This is going to be a very easy move for the Haas car, as he's a sitting duck as the Ferrari. Through goes Speed Freak into 4, and he makes it look very easy indeed here in Imola. Down the main straight he goes and clears him into 4th position. Speed Freak now is making his way back up the order, and remember, he is very close on points to Pepe. Speed Freak's 275, Pepe's 273. By the way it's looking, it's this pace from Speed Freak, he might be even higher on the podium here. He's 4th and not on the podium just yet, but this is some, you know, very strong pace being put down from the Haas, and I think this might just be enough to maybe catch the guys in front here. He's already caught Leeboy, who was having some little struggles there to stay in front, as yellow flags are being shown middle sector, and it is Billy Mewis again. Now he's round with Davey. They must have been connected then. Davey in the same barrier. Both drivers hitting the wall, and that must have been very connected there. Some sort of battle we've missed, but both of them hit the wall, and both now in P12 and 13, back of the grid. I would not be surprised if we see one of them go into the pit lane now for a bit of wing damage, because that looked like a hefty shunt by the looks of, you know, where the car was in the gravel traps. But here's Static Lazy then, now 1.2 seconds of an advantage over Pepe's. The Ferrari at the moment is the quickest driver on the track, absolutely flying and making that gap bigger lap by lap as yellow flags again. And it is Billy Mewis who has once again lost his rears. This race is going from bad to worse for the kick as he's down in P12, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see him go and retire in the next few laps, because it has gone from very bad to much, much worse as he makes his way around and potentially into the pit lane here. His rears are completely gone, and he carries on. He does carry on, and Davey now, both of them fighting round the outside line for the Aston Martin. He's done it now again. Stray Dog now is the next driver to spin around, as they're all going round today. He's down in P11, but gets back on the track very quickly. Going off wide there then for Andrew Pittsmith, who's fighting with Dom Pedrito in front of him. Leeboy QAV still holding 5. He's been overtaken twice. He did get up to P3 then on the race start, but his pace just hasn't been good enough then to maintain that position. Andrew Pittsmith now looks for a move on Dom Pedrito, but he's still sticking on the backside, waiting for that perfect opportunity, which is not just yet. He's got to think about Percival then, his teammate for tonight in the Racing Bull, right on the rears, and not looking like he's going to make a move just yet, but this is a move here around the outside line, and Dom Pedrito now is into P5. Leeboy drops down to P6 as we look to the drivers behind. And we head down in towards turn 1 with the 7th lap of 32. And potentially Pepe's will be your championship winner still. But we will find out as the laps go on, and we'll see where drivers end up, end up being. Of course, as the pit stops come in, then we're going to really start to see the true positions after all of that has happened. But Fatality and Percival are having a really nice battle at the back as the Mercedes now fighting on the Racing Bull. Up to the top of the hill we go then, the Mercedes taking the outside line, but not enough room for him there. It opens up again, now looks for the inside here. Yellow flags once more, and I think Stray Dogs round again in the same corner. Really struggling then through those left to right corners in that first sector. Struggling to get the car to grip to the road surface, unfortunately, but the 8th lap of the Grand Prix now about to begin in a moment. Static Lazy will be coming into the final few corners now as Billy Mewis has came into the pit lane and ended his race very short indeed. He retires from the session down in P13 to round off his race here in Extinguished Motorsports, ladies and gentlemen. So Billy Mewis out of this Grand Prix and out of his last race of this season here in Extinguished. Well, we reach lap 8, which is going to turn into lap 9. Again, Stray Dog is round. He's really struggling. Really is struggling through that set of corners. Billy Mewis, damage is off, so I can't even speak. Damage is off. Oh, no. Stray Dog's round again. He's honestly really finding it hard tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he does retire from the race. Damage is off, so I would have been dead at the start if it wasn't, and I could have raced that car. Fair enough, mate, fair enough. Sorry about that. I sounded really stupid when I was reading that out. It was because the laptop is so far away, I can barely see the messages. Oh, big collision here then. Don Pedrito, who lines up well in the championship. He's now, looks like he's been punted off somehow. He's down to P8 then, just in front of the championship leader of Passy now, who is making his way back through the order slowly but surely, but he's a lot more out of it than he'd like to be. He really is. Yellow flags again, and I think the Williams has lost his rears now in the final sector. Stray Dog, something's going on with him. It is really bad to see. The Williams are struggling massively. And is he going to go into the pit lane to retire? Or, one thing we know of this man, his determination is incredible. So he might just carry on, but we'll find out on lap 9 of 32. The Williams really struggling, unfortunately. He is going to go into the pit lane. Will he end his race off there? He is really far back, unfortunately, in this Grand Prix. Everybody soon to come and lap him, and Stray Dog does retire from the session. That is it then for his racing action this season. That is the last we'll see of Stray Dog until 2 weeks' time. Pepe's now into the pit lane for the first set of pit stops that we see. Lap 10 of 32, and we see Pepe's now in the pits getting on some brand new mediums. So we are expecting a 2-stop strategy from him. It's going to be medium to the hard to race till the end. So he's done 10 laps on one set of medium. He's going to try and do another 10 laps, you can only assume, and then potentially 12 laps till the end on the hards. Is that maybe what he's going to try? We'll find out. He could play with that gap a little bit, maybe come in a bit earlier on those mediums, then come in for the hards, or maybe even extend it a little bit longer. That is a possibility, but he's been followed in by Percival, Passy and Don Pedrito, who now all exit the pit lane at the same time pretty much, and they come out in P9 and P10. There we go. Well, a pit stop then for Davey. We have seen him in a few collisions today, but as we've been told now, there's no damage, which is helping a lot of drivers. Pit stops for Static Lazy and Andrew Pittsmith now as well. So Owen, from the back of the grid, now leads the Grand Prix. However, he does need to make a pit stop, but still cool to say, isn't it? Back of the grid to now leading the race. He has had a really, really nice race. And even without the pit stops, he still is running P3, P4, which is still really, really impressive from the start. Bearing in mind he did that pretty much on the second lap of the race. We are 11 laps in now, but he managed to make them places up in 2 laps at the start. It's really impressive. Well, Speed Freak running in 2 at the moment, and out of the championship contenders, he is looking the best at the minute. But of course, this grid that you're seeing, this leaderboard, isn't exactly true to life because there's still drivers that need to come into the pit lane. You can see the pit stops there. Owen, Speed Freak, Leaderboy and Fatality are drivers that have yet to come in. I'm assuming because they're on the hard compound. No, actually they're not. They are not. Fatality is on 10 lap hold. Leaderboy and Speed Freak on 10 lap hold mediums. And Owen on the hard. So we're expecting to see Owen and Fatality run them longer, but Speed Freak and Leeboy, they are going longer on these mediums, and you know what? They're not actually doing too bad on them. Leeboy is not too bad behind Speed Freak here, and this could actually be a move up the inside line. Here we go. Leeboy makes a great dive on the Haas, sends his car through and doesn't give him any choice but to let him pass. And now, oh, his rears are really, really cooked now and fried. Leeboy does lose that position again. It was a great dive, but must have just cooked his tyres on the way in there then as he broke incredibly hard. And now sending his car around the outside again, but just has he got the traction to fight this around? Dom Pedrito takes the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as the Ferrari now gets the better speed over the Haas car for a moment. He's got him again. Just has to try and keep the car stabilised now, and he should be able to stay in front. But the Haas fighting back, looks for a move up the inside line, not able to do so. That's going to compromise his exit now. Leeboy gets the better exit, builds the gap now to half a second. Up towards the chicane we go. Static Lazy and Fatality as well are changing around. The Ferrari's making up great moves today. Leeboy up to 2, Static Lazy now up to 5 and making his way through the order. But Leeboy has made a position up, through past Speed Freak. And look at the gap he's gained already then, a second. 1.1 seconds then is the gap. Really, really impressive from Leeboy there. He's pulled a bit of time out of that. And starting to build it as well. Impressive stuff. Oh my god. He's losing his rears. Hopefully he can keep it up. Speed Freak just decided to go in. Leeboy carries on. His tyres are going to be really, really worn now. And this is where we want to see what Pepe's can do. The gap between Pepe's and Leeboy is going to be coming down. It was just 9. Now it is to 4 because of the pit stop we've seen. No, sorry, Pepe's then. 10 seconds the gap between him and Leeboy. 9.9 now, and we are expecting to see that coming down. This is the old mediums against the new mediums, and this is where you're going to see so much time being taken out of Leeboy here. Look at this. Nearly a second has been taken out through the first sector alone, which is just incredible to watch then. Now 8.9 seconds, and this is going to be the lap for Leeboy to pit because he's losing crazy amounts of time. He's nearly lost 2 seconds then, not even in 2 sectors. This is really bad for Leeboy. Really struggling for the grip clearly on the exit of the corners, as you can see. Pepe's is just gaining on him now. It's 7.5. Let me remind you, he started this lap off 10 seconds behind, and he's nearly gained 3 seconds over him just on this one. Lap 13 of 32 then, everybody, and we are having a very nice race so far. We really, really are. And the gap has come down a drastic amount, 6.2 now to Leeboy, who surely pit stop, you'd say, but he's just continuing on. He keeps going on the mediums. Is his strategy the one stop then? Is he going to try and get on these hards and, you know, do just over half the race on them? Is that his strategy? Is that going to work? Or is he going to pit to the mediums again and then go on the hards at the end? That doesn't seem viable anymore. This has got to be the one stop for Leeboy. He's trying to keep these tyres out as long as he can and just extend them longer than they're actually really meant to be. But he's making it work. He is losing a lot of time to Pepe. He's now 4.7, but maybe he's not in the fight with Pepe's. Maybe that's not what he's fighting for today. and he might even be able to claim a podium here if this strategy does work out, but he has to be on his A game. And lap 14 of 32, when are we going to see him pit? He is the longest medium runner in this Grand Prix today, and a long time since we've seen him doing this well. Normally, something goes wrong, and of course, he leaves the session sometimes early, which is a shame. But he is currently P2, and the best position we've seen him in a while. Bearing in mind, he won't be there when he makes a pit stop, but he won't be far off. Let me tell you that. He will not be far off, as he is P2 right now. And could this be a pit stop? Is this the time for him to go into the pit lane? It is the time. Lee Boy's time is now. You will be overtaken by Pepe's, who, when he went into the pits, has reduced the gap to only 2 seconds. Now Pepe's into P2, and I believe the favourite to win the World Championship tonight at the moment in P2. Owen extending these hards out, then leading. Pepe's will be the race leader when it gets to it, but Static Lazy is going to be gaining on him. Then 8.6 seconds is the gap between them. Lee Boy coming out of the pit lane now in P6. Now P7 might even be even... oh, he's going to fall down a lot, Lee Boy is. He's lost a lot of time on these tyres. He's going to come out the back of the grid pretty much, apart from Davey. Lee Boy out in P10 now then. 15 seconds of a gap to the driver in front. Actually 4.2 now, 4.3. But the advantage that he's given himself there, then the medium compound tyres, he run them longer, so then he can now go on to the hards till the end. That is his strategy. As we've seen, everybody's gone from the mediums to the mediums again, which indicates a 2-stop strategy. The mediums, and the hards, that is usually what we see happen. But Lee Boy carried it on, and now he's come out on the hards to attempt the 1-stop strategy. It's good to see somebody doing something a bit rogue and a bit different. Hopefully it works out for him then. That would be pretty good. All round goes Fatality, just catching him in a slide. Spins the car 180 degrees then on the turn, and he's facing the complete wrong way as he will get it spun around now. Resets the track, which I don't know if it's allowed. I don't know if that's allowed in this league, but he does reset the track now. As we reach half race distance then, ladies and gents. And Owen, your race leader at the moment. Like I've said before, he still needs to go into the pit lane, but currently he's doing a good job. 15.4 seconds advantage. Well, here's Owen then, as he makes his way across the line, starts lap 17. The gap has been brought down by about a second over Pepe's at the minute, and actually coming down even more. You've got to remember, he's on the 6-lap-old mediums. They are going to be working much better than the 16-lap-old hards. More than, well, about half a race old now are those all these hard compound tyres. But he's running them well, actually, and he's actually maintaining a really, really strong gap. The consistency that he's laying down is pretty unmatched tonight. Well, Lee Boy's down in P9, and he has gained a position over Fatality, who has came into the pit lane again. So Lee now in P9. Remember, he is at the back of the grid, but you've got to remember, there's a lot of 2-stop strategies going on here. There's a few 2-stops. Pepe's on the 2-stop, Passy on the 2-stop as well. Static, Lazy. I think they're going to go on the. Are they going to go on the mediums to the end potentially? We'll see what the strategy call is, but we've just been on the half race distance point now into the second half of the Grand Prix, and this is where we'll see the 2-stops come in, you know, in due course. As we across the line with the drivers then. Let's see where we are. Look at this, Static Lazy and Andrew Pittsmith into P3 goes the Racing Bull. Andrew Pittsmith now in third. He's having a really nice race, isn't he then? Ahead of the Ferrari. He now gets himself in the podium places. We might just get Andrew Pittsmith in the podium interview room chat later on. We've not seen him in there for a while. That'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? It would be quite nice indeed. So we'll find out, but still quite a bit of this race to go. The other half we've still got now, and Owen is your leader, but the gap that was once 15 seconds, and actually even more than that, it is now down to 10.8, 10.7. That is coming down very rapidly indeed. And I've already mentioned this, but the 8-lap-old mediums, of course, are going to hold the advantage over Owen's 17-lap-old hards. The 8-lap-old mediums won't be too good, as we did see most of the medium runners earlier on pit from lap 10 on the mediums. Peppies is nearly reaching that window, but he's running them well, and he's keeping them okay at the moment. Here comes Peppies then to overtake Davey, the back marker this evening. Here is an AI. He left the game, but he's been overtaken. Has he left the game? I'm not entirely sure. Has he just gone and ghosted because it's the back marker? That could potentially be it. Oh no, Davey is here today. Davey's still here, I think. Yeah, Davey is here. As Speed Freak and Perceivable now find themselves battling through the first few corners here in Imola, and I believe that was Speed Freak who did get in front. I'm going to go over the championship again for you now then on lap 19, as it is shaping up to be quite nice. Passy, ladies and gents, could have won the championship tonight. He's in the pit lane again in P9, very far down the track and the grid. It is 282 points to his name then, 7 points ahead of Speed Freak and Dom Pedrito, both tied on 275. Speed Freak in 5, Dom Pedrito in P7. Now Pepes is 4th with 273. He's got 9-point difference between him and Passy, and he's outscoring Speed Freak and Dom Pedrito. So at the minute, and as it stands, Pepes would win the World Championship, ladies and gentlemen. Pepes would win the World Championship. But is it going to go that way? Because he's on the old mediums. Now he makes a pit stop. Here we go then. Like how it all can change. Pepes in the pits for some new hards till the end. Owen as well. He finally makes a pit stop now onto the mediums. Is he going to try and do 12 laps on the medium compound now till the end? That could work for him, actually. We've seen it done before. We've seen it done before absolutely well as well. As into turn 1 we go, it is Perceivable on the Alpine of Dom Pedrito. Don into P4, Perceivable down to 5. As in the pit lane, Pepes, of course, as we mentioned, from second on the track down to P8. And drivers gaining up the order. Now Speed Freak's in third, Dom Pedrito's in 4. Both joint on points, but one of them ahead of the other. And that will be Speed Freak, who is ahead in the Drivers' Championship just purely because of positions-wise and stuff. So he is ahead, but both tied on points, as we've lost Stray Dog and Billy Mewis in this Grand Prix, unfortunately. Still here with Davey at the back, who he's had a few issues today, unfortunately. But he goes off the track there then, trying to keep himself back on. He loses his rears as well. Really, really struggling this Davey then. That explains why he's been lapped so many times. Here comes Static Lazy to lap him now then. I'm pretty sure we've seen this already. As Dom Pedrito and Perceivable both enter the pit lane then on the hards, 10-lap-old and 11-lap-old. These are going to get changed to the mediums till the end now, you can only assume. Could be the hards again. Could very well be the hards again. It is the hards again, actually. Never mind. So hards till the end now then. Maybe the mediums they think is too much of a risk. Owen's trying it. And Leroy QAV, ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you, is trying the one-stop. And due to all of this, he now finds himself in P5. After pit stops have came in, he has gained a lot of places, and the one-stop currently working for him quite well. I'm not going to lie. It is looking good, but he has to keep this kind of pace up then. It's not going to come easily, as there's an Alpine of Pepes behind him, who is in contention of a World Championship tonight, and he is gaining rapidly on the newer hards, and I believe he is going to be able to make an overtake here pretty damn easily. Owen then takes the fastest lap on the medium compound of tyres. We finally see Davey in the pit lane again. He's down at the back of the grid now going on. He's got the hards till the end and only 10 laps remaining on them. The hards should, deal with that pretty good. Static Lazy and Andrew Pittsmith both need to go into the pit lane unless they're running these hards till the end, but they're going to be completely cooked, and I believe they are going to be making another pit stop today. So Static Lazy, Andrew Pittsmith, we're expecting in the pits again. Speed Freak then in third place. He's on 9-lap-old hard, so he's just still aging pretty quickly. Might go into the pits again. We've got Owen in 4, 2-lap-old mediums. He's got to try and take them another 10 laps. Pepe's then 2-lap-old hards. They're not too bad. They are pretty young, and he should be able to take these to the end with ease. So Pepe's actually looking one of the best drivers here, in my opinion. Really young tyres, and should jump the order when the drivers in front have made a pit stop. And if they don't, they're going to really start to lose pace on their laps. And look at Pepe's go. The commitment through the corners and the speed and the entry and everything is just perfectly executed for the Alpine. Is up to the front then, Andrew Pittsmith, Static Lazy changing around. Andrew Pittsmith down up into P1 now. Static down to 2 in the Ferrari with 12 laps both under their belt on these tyres. Owen now into the podium places again from the back of the grid then up to P3. Speed Freak now in 4. I think Speed Freak's the world champion at the moment. I really do think so. I'll have to see, but I think as it stands, he is the world champion. As where is he? Passy then in P9 will be scoring 14 points. Oh, that's a big drop. Passy scoring 14 points, and Pepe's will be scoring 28. So scoring double over him, and I think that might just be wraps for him then. Will be Passy out of the championship pretty much at the moment, unless he can claw it back at the end, but it really hasn't gone his way, and it's a shame because we've seen a championship slip away from a really good driver. Andrew Pittsmith in the pit lane now, then finally makes a pit stop. Static Lazy continues on the very old hards. I'm interested to see how far he takes these. But now drivers get their chance to make some overtakes. The moments they're all waiting for. There's drivers coming out of the pit lane. Pepe's coming down now. Leeboy might just get a jump on him as well. He does. Leeboy now gets into 5th on the 9-lap-old hards. These are really aging. Like I've said before, though, he is trying to take these till the end of the Grand Prix. Should be doable, but they're going to be really well done, towards the end. Well, lap 25 of 32 begins, and we are really reaching the ending stages now. Only 7 remaining laps of the Grand Prix. Static Lazy in front, and he's 14 laps deep on these tyres. Leeboy 10 laps deep as well, so he's really in the same kind of boat here. And Speed Freak too, 12 laps. Are these drivers trying to extend these till the end? Are these tyres going to take that amount of wear till the end? That is the question that is worth being asked. And we're going to start to see the effects of that in a few laps' time. Owen, of course, in P2 on the much newer tyres and medium compound as well, which are going to offer much more grip over the old hards. He is currently 5.9 with a gap, and I think that's going to come down. I really do. Oh, the line. Lap 26 is here. The lap's ticking by, and this is the stage in the race where you're just starting to watch the times and the data and see who's really struggling now on the tyres and whose strategy has actually paid off. Lee Boy, of course, as we know, he went for the one-stop strat. We're going to have a look at the strategies now then, actually, where, yeah, Lee Boy did go for the one-stop. We've got a few two-stops. The top three went for the one-stop, as well as Lee Boy, and Fatality. Everybody else went on a two-stop then, and by the looks of it, the one-stop was more successful. It was more successful. Lee Boy in 5, and only one place away from being with everybody else who was on the one-stop. So he's had a good race today, and I think the strategy that he's took has helped him, stay where he is. Two-stop strategy, I believe, would have made him fall down that order, unfortunately. But he chose the right call today. Static Lazy, the driver, in front with a 5-second gap to Owen, which is coming down slowly but surely, lap by lap. It was a huge gap, and now it's only 4.6. Just bear with me, everybody. The screen decided to turn itself off. I'll bring that back up for you. There we go. Well, just a reminder to you then, at the end of this race, we will have post-race interviews of the top 3 finishing drivers. And at the minute, you can see the top 3. That could be who we speak to. We speak to Owen quite a lot. Static Lazy, I don't know if we spoke to not last week, the week before. But Owen's up to 11 places, and that is a brilliant talking point for him if we get the interview. 11 places gained. That is an incredible, incredible drive. And I'm hoping that he can keep it, or even he might even win this race. Actually, he might even win this race. When you really look at it, 3.8 seconds then to Static Lazy, and the gap has come down very much indeed in the last few laps. He's only got 5 laps to do it, but 3.9 seconds in 5 laps is more than doable. This Static Lazy's hards are going to be dropping off lap by lap, and of course the mediums are going to go as well. 8 laps old now. They're getting, towards the end of their date, but Static's tyres are on 17 laps old. Surely he's got the worst degradation. Yellow flags being shown in the middle sector. Something cropping up there with the drivers. We've got Leroy QAV losing a place to Andrew Pittsmith. The one-stop strategy he took. We've seen evidence of that being the best strategy today, but for him, he's actually lost out another place here, and you can see his rears just sliding out a bit, losing the rear traction and grip. He's got 14 laps on these tyres, ladies and gentlemen. 14 laps on these tyres, and it is lap 29 of 32. Only 3 laps remaining of the Grand Prix. Static Lazy, the driver in front. It is 2.7 seconds the gap between him and Owen in the Williams, and we've seen lap by lap this gap getting smaller and smaller. I think it was 6 seconds, even more than that, even earlier on. But now it has come down to 3 and just below that as well, 2.9. It's going to be even less with 2 laps remaining. Owen running in 2 then. And after starting P13 and the back of the grid, he could be the race winner come race end. As well as that, I believe Speed Freak will be the world champion come race end. I need to double check that. Speed Freak 275 points, 7 points away from Passy, who leads the world championship then coming into this. As Leroy retires from the session then in the pit lane, he ends his race early, 2 laps before the end, and he was running well as well, so I'm not entirely sure why he's retired, but he is out and will not be scoring any points in the championship. It is the final round of the season though, so not really too important for him in terms of the championship. Speed Freak then running in 3rd and will be world champion if he finishes in this position. Lap 30 of 32, 2 remaining. Static Lazy's run a good race as well. He's run 19 laps on the same tyre compound in a 32-lap race. That is pretty damn long. And 9 laps then over Owen. But of course, he's on the medium compound, which are going to have the more grip, but 10 laps on them. They're going to really start to die now, but they're still working well. You can see with 1.4 seconds the gap now between him and Static, and it is coming down 1.3, gaining masses of temps on these last few laps. It is getting really tight, and with only 2 laps to go in the penultimate lap here, the question gets raised, is Owen actually going to be able to do this with the gap? The Ferraris at the start had a very, very good race start, of course. One of them has retired since then. One of them now leads the Grand Prix with a 1.1 second gap. 20 laps on these tyres, which is pretty much unheard of here in Imola. And he has done a very good job. But you can see the gap coming down. And with only a lap remaining of this race and of the entire season here in Extinguished Motorsports, are we going to see Owen go from last to first, or is he going to have to settle for 2nd place? The gap is now 9 tenths. Of course, in the 2026 season, DRS not a thing, but still here we get the DRS enabled. And Owen will get that now. Between that 2nd gap, the rear wing will be open down the main straight here with 7/10 of a second down the straight for the final lap of the Grand Prix. Now 6 tenths as the DRS will bring him even closer. Draws him all the way behind Static now. 3/10 of a second is the gap. And has he got enough now to make that overtake right on the backside of him? The Williams has driven a sensational Grand Prix. He was disqualified, from qualifying earlier on. Did not set a time, went from back of the grid in P13 and has had an absolutely flawless event this evening. We're definitely speaking to him in the interview room later on. From the 2nd lap of the race, got to 2nd place, and he's been there pretty much all race long. Now the strategies came into play on the very final lap. Maybe it is, it's not really worked out for him here. Maybe he needed a few more laps because the gap 5 tenths. His only chance now is the DRS down onto the start-finish straight. Is he going to be able to get him now as the final battle continues? Owen right on the backside of him, looks for the inside line, not enough space just yet. Down into the final few corners then. On lap 32, Speed Freak with a penalty as well, who is on for the championship tonight, everybody. He gets a penalty. He might even lose out on that. I think Pepe's might be able to retake it. We go round the final corner. Static Lazy, who's had a beautiful race, 21 laps on these hards. He crosses the line in the Ferrari, wins the final race of the season. Owen over the line takes 2nd place. AP takes the final spot on the podium, and we finally get to speak to him. But over the line because of the penalties, Pepe's takes 4. And if I'm absolutely correct, he should win the championship tonight. But I don't want to stress that too much because no one's been able to actually let me know that. My maths are never too good about it. But Pepe should be the world champion, ladies and gentlemen. Speed Freak lines up in 5th. He should be 2nd in the championship at the end of that. Passy had a brilliant chance but unfortunately ruined his chances after finishing in 8th position in the Grand Prix. We just wait for Passy to cross the line. A great season in Extinguished Motorsports comes to a close, and we have a 1 week break before we get started again. So 1 week off next week, and then back at it again on the Wednesday evenings. Passy rounds it off, and he will be very gutted about that. A long season of great races, and at the very end, gets thrown away for him. Could have won a World Championship tonight, but slipped through his fingers at the end. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, Static Lazy wins the Grand Prix tonight, but unfortunately that will be overshadowed by the championship winner. Pepe's today in the Alpine. He's driven a brilliant season, and at the end of it, it has all come true for him. Owen arguably had the best race of the night. He went from back of the grid to P2. Andrew Pittsmith lines up in 3. That is it for the season here in Extinguished, but we do have your post-race interviews with the drivers, which we'll get on your screen in a moment.
Perfect for me. Oh my god.
Hello.
I'm not doing that again.
Right. Not everybody's here, but we'll start with Static Lazy in the Ferrari tonight. And a very, very nice race. Winning, of course, today. Just give us your thoughts on that one.
Pretty bit luckier that I won it. That oh, my heart was going the whole entire race. Like I'm out of breath. I feel like I'm just done a marathon.
Was there any point in the strategy today that you changed, or are you pretty happy with how all of that went?
I was trying to make them last when I went to the hards. Thought that I'll just tyre save and they'll be all right for the end. No. If in doubt, they felt better when they had wear on them.
That's one way to put it.
Well, Static, coming into this, were you expecting that result? Did you have confidence coming into Imola?
Yeah, I thought I would win it.
Did you?
Yeah.
What, even for that
Next
spin
seat.
that you had?
Yeah, that spin was a bit embarrassing. It's okay. I was just giving everyone false hope.
Fair enough.
I have got to say though, Static, of course, since you've joined, you've been quite dominant in this league. Do you think coming into next season you've got more of a chance of the championship?
Yeah, why not? I think I might have a chance.
Good stuff. Glad to hear it. Thanks for the chat, mate. Right. Owen, second place. I've got to admit, mate, best race you have had, in my opinion. That was absolutely brilliant. From the back of the grid to P2, give us your thoughts on that.
Well, I did not expect that first lap to go as chaotic as usual.
Were you up to second, weren't you, by the second lap, I think, or third, something like that?
I was, yeah, something like that, and I thought, oh my god, I'm in a good position here. Yeah, the strategy was to go for a one stop.
Yeah.
I was gonna go a bit longer on the tires, but they started to wear out like pretty bad. So pitted lap 19, and then just mode pushed towards the end. Um, but GG's to Static, who drove a pretty good race apart from that spin. So
Yeah, we don't mention that spin. It
Do you
didn't
think?
happen.
Do you think there's anything you could have done there differently to allow you to actually have took that win?
Well, I said to Stray Dog before before the race started, I
Yeah.
said, should I go on mediums or hards? And I thought, let me just go on a set of hards as well as I'm at the back of the grid. And that actually paid off, which I'm actually impressed. Pace was good, setup was good. Yeah, just happy with the result, really.
Well, I've got to say, towards the second half of the season, you've been really showing up. Do you think a bit of an early prediction, but going into the next season, I'll give you the same question. Do you think you've got more of a chance in the championship?
Well, it really depends who takes part next week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
Yeah.
know probably Static will probably be racing next week. Next season. I'm saying
Yeah.
next week. Jesus Christ. Passy will most likely, probably the most people at the top will probably race next season. So it's gonna be a bit of a challenge, but the whole point in here just to improve your race standards and just have fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for the chat. Really good race, mate. Good to speak
No
to you.
worries, man. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Talk to you next season.
Yep.
Right then, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the interviews. That is it for Extinguished Motorsports for this season around. We've got a 1 week break and back again the week after. So very much looking forward to getting into that. Your race highlight reel should be posted tomorrow night as well to watch all of the best bits of tonight's race. Thanks very much for joining and good night.